Hello. The purpose of this video is to solve the bug collector problem from your textbook. So we're given this problem as seen here to solve using Python code. So let's get familiar with the problem first by reading it. A bug collector collects bugs every day for 7 days. Write a program that keeps a running total of the number of bugs collected during the 7 days. The loop should ask for the number of bugs collected for each day, and when the loop is finished, the program should display the total number of bugs collected. Okay, so let's first talk about how this might occur. We're going to need to, before you understand how to write this Python code, you're going to need to understand the concept of running total. Now, running total is a topic discussed in your textbook, so you need to find that section in the current chapter and read about a running total and make sure you understand that. Another topic that you're going to need to understand before this program will make much sense to you will be what is an accumulator. So once you understand those two topics, and I'll be explaining those two topics during the video, but once you understand those two topics, then you're better ready to understand how this program is going to work. Okay, so let's first begin by writing some pseudocode. And that's something we want to do quite often in Python is write some pseudocode. So I've prepared here
summarizes everything that
some
going to do.
A screenshot here that shows some pseudocode. So we're going to set up an accumulator. The name of our accumulator is total. Now the purpose of the accumulator is to keep track of the bugs inputted in each day. So we're going to need to set up a for loop that iterates 7 times. So a new word for you might be iterate. That's each time a loop completes an entire pass. So our loop is going to need to iterate 7 times, and each time a user will enter the number of bugs collected for that particular day. And the accumulator total will be the number that's carrying the running total. So the running total will be stored in total. And each iteration of the loop, the number of bugs collected during that particular day will be added to the total. And then once the loop is over, we'll display the total. Now notice the indentation here, and notice that the two pseudocode lines that are part of the for loop are indented here. So this would happen, these two lines would happen every iteration of the loop, whereas this display total would only happen at the end of the program. So it's typical for beginning programming students to get that confused and have this indented underneath the for loop, which would make the total display every iteration of the loop. And that is not what we want in this particular case. So we want those indentations to be exactly the way you see them here in the pseudocode. Okay, so it's important to remember that we must initialize the accumulator before the loop starts, and then we need to set up a for loop since we know in advance how many times this particular loop needs to iterate, which is 7. And then we set up the statement to get the data from the keyboard. We set up the statement to keep the running total into the accumulator variable called total, and then we display the contents of the total variable at the end of the program run. Okay, so with that in mind, let's begin writing some programming code. So I've already typed in a comment statement, as you might remember that a hashtag indicates a comment statement. So we're going to initialize the accumulator. So we're going to set total equal to 0. Think of this as kind of what you might do in clearing your calculator before you begin to do a total. You would want to make sure the calculator was clear and essentially set the calculator to 0 is what happens when you clear a calculator before you begin adding something to a calculator. Okay, so we've got the accumulator set to 0, and now we're going to get the bugs collected for each day. Now the way we're going to do that is set up a for loop, and you could set up this loop to do 0 through 7, and that would give you 7 iterations, because 7 minus 0 would be 7, so that would give you 7 iterations. But we actually want the 1 to show on the screen, and so we'll see 1 to 7 showing on the screen. We'll see day 1, 2, 3. So I've chosen to start at 1 instead of 0 and continue to 8, and 8 minus 1 will be 7. So for a range function in Python, you subtract these two numbers here, and that'll tell you how many times the loop is going to iterate. This time, in this case, it's going to iterate 7 times, which is once for each day of the week. Okay, so now I'm going to prompt the user to enter the number of bugs collected, and normally I would do the prompt from the input statement, but because I want to display the day number here, see this connection between this variable here and this variable here. Okay, that's the same variable, but that's going to be the day number that I'm on. It'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So because of that, I'm separating the prompt out from the input statement. Okay, so right here, normally I would have inside here, I would have this little sentence normally would be inside these parentheses, but I'm doing that just a little differently here. So when the user inputs the number, it'll be stored in bugs temporarily. And remember, an input statement returns a string literal by default. And to override that, I'm going to put this particular input function inside an int function, which will therefore send to the bugs variable an integer. Okay, so next, we're going to add bugs up, and this is where we're going to have total plus equals bugs. What this means is total is going to be equal to the previous total plus the number of bugs input on this particular iteration of the loop. This could also be written as total equals total plus bugs, but this is the newer, more modern way of writing an accumulator. So total plus equals bugs, but just think of this as total equals total plus bugs. Okay, so this is the newer way. This is called the augmented assignment operator here. Okay. And then we're pretty much finished with the loop once we've iterated 7 times, and we will display the total bugs. And so that's going to simply be a print statement that says you collected a total of, and in this case, the word total is a variable, and inside the variable will be this what we accumulated here. So if we were to enter 1 for the first day, we collected 1 bug on the first day, and 2 bugs on the second day, and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 as this loop runs. So what would be 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7? The answer would be 28. So I'm just using the Python shell here just to add up these numbers. And I know now that the sum of 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 is 28. So with that being the case, now I'm going to run this, and I know what my answer should be. So let's run the program now. And it says, enter the bugs collected on day 1. I collected 1 bug on day 1, and 2 bugs on day 2, and so on, 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. And you collected a total of 28 bugs. So it looks like the program is doing a great job. I expected the number of bugs to be totaled to 28, and the number of bugs indeed was 28. And I kept a running total in this variable right here, and I printed the total right here, which was 28. I hope you're enjoying the programming class, and this concludes this video.